You're scrolling through your phone at 2 in the morning, can't sleep, and suddenly you're craving pizza, pepperoni, extra cheese, the works. So you open an app, and there it is, an ad for the exact pizza place you were thinking about. You never said it out loud. You didn't search for it, but somehow they knew. And you tell yourself it's a coincidence, or maybe your phone is listening. But what if I told you the truth is actually more unsettling than that? What if you didn't come up with that craving at all? What if the desire was planted, cultivated, and harvested before you ever knew you were hungry? What if the thought you believed was yours was actually engineered days ago by an algorithm that knows you better than you know yourself? I'm Anonymous, and this is Conspiracy Anonymous. Hey guys, before we get into today's episode, I just wanted to say that I truly appreciate you for listening and hope you enjoy the content. I'm always looking to improve, so please share your feedback in the comments. Got a topic suggestion for the next one? Drop it in the comments and I'll add it to my topic list. One last thing, I'd really appreciate if you could leave a like and subscribe to the channel before you go. It means a lot and really helps grow the channel. Alright, now let's get into the episode. We need to talk about something that's happening right now, in real time, to every single person watching this video. It's not science fiction. It's not some distant dystopian future. It's the architecture of influence that surrounds us every waking moment, and it's gotten so sophisticated that the line between prediction and manipulation has completely dissolved. We're going to examine the documented, verifiable systems that corporations and governments use to shape human behavior, and then we're going to ask the question that keeps me up at night. If your desires can be predicted with 92% accuracy before you're even aware of them, and if those desires can be subtly guided through micro-stimuli you never consciously notice, are your thoughts really your own? This isn't about whether your phone is listening to you. That's the paranoia they want you focused on, because it distracts from the real mechanism of control. This is about something far more elegant and far more terrifying. The possibility that free will itself has become an illusion we're allowed to believe in, while invisible hands guide every choice we make. Let's start with a story that's been told 1,000 times but never quite understood. 2012, Minneapolis, Minnesota. A man walks into his local Target store, furious, demanding to speak with a manager. He's holding a coupon mailer that was sent to his teenage daughter's address. The coupons are for baby clothes, cribs, maternity vitamins, and prenatal supplements. He's outraged. His daughter is in high school. He accuses Target of encouraging teenage pregnancy, of sending inappropriate materials to a minor. The manager apologizes profusely, promises to look into it, and the father leaves, still angry but somewhat satisfied. 2 weeks later, that same father calls the manager back. His voice is different now, quieter. He apologizes. Turns out his daughter was pregnant. She hadn't told him yet. Target knew before he did. That's the story everyone knows. But here's what most people don't know. How Target knew. And more importantly, why they needed to hide that they knew. A statistician named Andrew Pohl, working for Target's analytics division, had cracked what the retail industry had been chasing for decades. The ability to identify major life changes before the customer themselves became fully aware. Pregnancy was the holy grail because pregnant women represent a goldmine. They're about to enter a 2-decade cycle of constant purchasing. Diapers, formula, clothes every few months, toys, eventually school supplies, electronics, everything. But here's the catch. Once a woman knows she's pregnant, she starts researching. She asks friends. She develops brand loyalties that are almost impossible to break. Target needed to reach these women before they knew, in that fuzzy window between conception and conscious awareness, when their shopping habits would shift in subtle, trackable ways. Paul identified 25 products that, when purchased in specific combinations, could predict pregnancy with eerie accuracy. Unscented lotion because pregnant women become sensitive to smells. Magnesium and calcium supplements. Oversized handbags. Cotton balls. A specific combination of these items, tracked through loyalty card data, allowed Target's algorithm to assign every female shopper a pregnancy prediction score and estimate her due date, sometimes within a narrow window of days. But then they ran into a problem. When they started sending obviously pregnancy-related coupons to women with high prediction scores, people freaked out. It felt invasive, creepy, like someone was watching them through their bathroom window. So Target developed what internal documents called the camouflage strategy. and what I call the lawnmower technique. They started mixing pregnancy-related coupons with random ones. A coupon for cribs next to one for lawnmowers, prenatal vitamins next to wine glasses. The pregnancy coupons were still there, still targeted, but now they were buried in noise. The woman would see the crib coupon, use it, never quite realizing that every single item in that mailer had been algorithmically selected based on her purchasing pattern. The genius of this approach is that it weaponizes your own cognitive bias. You notice the coincidence, the crib coupon right when you're newly pregnant, but you dismiss it because look at all this other random stuff. It must be chance, except it's not. Every single item was chosen. The randomness was the disguise. Now, here's where we need to pause and ask ourselves a harder question. Target didn't create that woman's pregnancy. That's biology. But what they did do is predict a biological change before conscious awareness, and then position their products to be the first thing she reached for when that awareness arrived. They intercepted her decision-making process at the exact moment it was forming, and that raises something uncomfortable. If a retailer can predict your biological state before you can, and then guide your purchasing behavior based on that prediction, where exactly does your choice begin? You walk into a store thinking you're making independent decisions, but the store layout, the product placement, the coupons you received, even the music playing overhead, all of it has been calibrated based on data you didn't know you were providing. You're not shopping. You're being guided through a designed experience that feels like autonomy. Let's fast forward to today, 2026. The target pregnancy algorithm was 14 years ago, and it's laughably primitive compared to what exists now. We've moved from tracking shopping habits to tracking biology in real time. Your smartwatch knows your heart rate variability, your sleep cycles, your stress levels, your menstrual cycle if you're female, even the micro changes in your skin temperature. Retail stores use Bluetooth beacons to track how long you linger in specific aisles, which products you pick up and put back, the route you walk through the store. Your phone's accelerometer data can determine if you're walking with confidence or hesitation. Credit card companies analyze purchase, timing, and location to predict divorce, job loss, pregnancy, illness, sometimes months before these events become conscious knowledge to the person living them. Insurance companies buy this data, employers buy this data, political campaigns buy this data, and all of it gets fed into predictive models that are no longer trying to guess what you might want. They're trying to engineer what you will want. Facebook ran an experiment in 2014 that they later published in an academic journal, which is the only reason we know about it. They called it emotional contagion research. They manipulated the news feeds of nearly 700,000 users without their knowledge or consent, showing one group more positive posts and another group more negative posts. Then they measured the emotional tone of what those users posted afterwards. The result? People shown positive content posted more positively. People shown negative content posted more negatively. Facebook's conclusion, stated plainly in their research paper, was that emotional states can be transferred to others via emotional contagion, leading people to experience the same emotions without their awareness. Read that again. Without their awareness. Facebook proved they could alter your emotional state without you knowing, just by controlling what information you were exposed to. And that was 12 years ago with crude algorithmic tools compared to what exists now. Uber has a patent, publicly filed, for a system that monitors your phone's battery level and adjusts surge pricing accordingly. The logic is simple and ruthless. A user with a low battery is more likely to accept a higher price because they're in a state of anxiety. They need to get somewhere. Their phone is dying. They don't have time to wait or comparison shop. Uber identified the psychological vulnerability and monetized it. That's not prediction. That's exploitation of a manipulated mental state. Casinos have been doing this for decades with facial recognition and player tracking cards. They monitor for what they call pain points, the moment when a gambler is about to quit. Right at that moment, a floor manager appears with a free drink, a meal voucher, or a small bonus credit. The intervention is timed with psychological precision to override the decision to leave. The gambler feels like they're being treated well, valued, lucky even. They don't realize they're being managed. Their breaking point was predicted, and their decision to quit was intercepted and rerouted. Now let's talk about the mechanism that makes all of this possible. The feedback loop. Here's how it works. The algorithm shows you content based on your past behavior. You engage with that content, which generates new data. That data refines the algorithm's model of you. The algorithm shows you more precisely targeted content. You engage more. The loop tightens. Each cycle, the algorithm gets better at predicting you. And each cycle, you become more predictable because your behavior is being shaped by the content the algorithm is feeding you. You're not just being predicted, You're being trained. And here's the terrifying part. The lag time between stimulus and response is shrinking. In 2012, Target needed weeks of shopping data to predict pregnancy. Today, a smartwatch can detect hormonal changes in less than 48 hours. Recommendation algorithms update in real time. The gap between the algorithm identifying a nascent desire and presenting you with the means to fulfill it is collapsing towards zero. And when that gap reaches zero, when the stimulus and response become instantaneous, what you're left with is a system that doesn't predict behavior. It creates it. So here's the theory, and I want you to sit with this for a moment. What if the ad you see isn't responding to a thought you had? What if the thought you had was responding to stimuli the algorithm fed you hours or days earlier? You scroll past a video about hiking. You don't consciously register it, but your brain does. Later, you see a friend's photo from a mountain trip. Again, barely conscious attention. Then you see a meme about needing fresh air, a news article about the health benefits of nature. None of these feel like ads. They feel like content, random content, the noise of the internet. But they're not random. They're sequenced. And then, when you finally think, you know what, I should go hiking this weekend, and you open an app and see an ad for hiking boots, you think the ad read your mind. But what actually happened is the ad planted the suggestion days ago, then watered it, then harvested it at the exact moment you believed it was your own organic idea. The ad didn't respond to your thought. Your thought responded to the ad. This is where we have to bring in some neuroscience, and I promise to keep this digestible. Your brain doesn't generate thoughts the way you think it does. Consciousness, that voice in your head that feels like you, is actually the last part of your brain to know what's happening. Studies using functional MRI scans have shown that your brain makes decisions up to 7 seconds before you become consciously aware that you've made them. That little delay, that 7-second gap, is where your sense of free will lives. Your unconscious brain processes stimuli, makes a decision, and then your conscious brain experiences that decision as a choice you made. Now imagine what happens when the stimuli feeding your unconscious brain are not random, but algorithmically curated based on a predictive model of your psychology. Your unconscious brain is being fed a designed information diet, and the choices it makes, the ones you later experience as your own free will, are choices made within the constraints of that designed environment. You're like a lab rat in a maze who thinks he's exploring freely because he can choose to turn left or right, never realizing the maze itself was built to guide him toward a predetermined destination. But let's pump the brakes here, because this is where I need to be honest with you about the other side of this argument. There are very good reasons to be skeptical of the idea that algorithms have achieved actual mind control. First, humans are messy, irrational, and unpredictable, in ways that algorithms still struggle with. Yes, behavior can be influenced, but influence is not control. You can nudge someone toward a decision, but you can't force them to make it. Predictive models work on populations, on statistical averages, but individual humans constantly defy those averages. The target pregnancy algorithm had a high success rate, but it also had false positives. Women who weren't pregnant but happened to buy the right combination of products. The system is sophisticated, but it's not omniscient. Second, the idea that algorithms can plant thoughts assumes a level of coordination and intent that may not exist. Most of these systems aren't designed by evil geniuses in dark rooms plotting to enslave humanity. They're designed by engineers optimizing for engagement metrics, click-through rates, and conversion percentages. The manipulation, if we want to call it that, is emergent behavior. It's the unintended consequence of thousands of small optimizations, not a grand conspiracy. The algorithm doesn't care about controlling your mind. It cares about keeping you on the platform so you see more ads. The mind control, if it exists, is a side effect, not the goal. Third, and this is important, humans have agency. Even in a manipulated environment, we can make choices that defy prediction. We can recognize patterns, adjust our behavior, resist influence. The fact that you're watching this video, thinking critically about these systems, is itself an act of resistance. Awareness disrupts the loop. Once you know the mechanism, you can start to see it operating. And once you see it, you can choose differently. Maybe not every time, maybe not perfectly, but enough to maintain some degree of autonomy. But here's what keeps me up at night, and why I can't fully embrace the skeptic's position. Everything I just said about human unpredictability and emergent behavior, that was true 5 years ago. It might not be true now. Machine learning models have become exponentially more sophisticated. They don't just track what you click on anymore. They track how long you hesitate before clicking. The micro expressions your face makes when you see certain content captured by your phone's front-facing camera, the sentiment of your text messages analyzed through predictive text algorithms, the tonality of your voice during phone calls, biometric data from wearable devices, GPS location data cross-referenced with weather, time of day, local events. Every single data point is fed into neural networks that find patterns human analysts would never see, and these systems are learning faster than we can comprehend. GPT-4 can pass the bar exam. It can write code, generate art, mimic human conversations so convincingly that millions of people can't tell they're talking to a machine. If an AI can do all of that, is it really so absurd to think it could predict, and therefore influence, the formation of a simple desire like craving pizza? Let's talk about documented cases where behavioral engineering crossed the line from marketing into something darker. 1953 to 1973, the CIA ran a program called MKUltra. This is not conspiracy theory. This is declassified historical fact. The program experimented with mind control techniques using drugs, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, abuse, and psychological torture. The goal was to create programmable human assets, people who could be given instructions they wouldn't remember receiving and would carry out without question. The program was eventually shut down, or so we're told, and the records were mostly destroyed. But here's what we know for certain. The US government spent 20 years and millions of dollars trying to figure out how to control human behavior at the level of thought and action. They didn't do that for fun. They did it because they believed it was possible. And while MKUltra's methods were crude, brutal, and ultimately ineffective, the goal never changed. They just needed better tools. Fast forward to today, and those tools exist. We're carrying them in our pockets. Social media platforms have more data on human psychology than the CIA could have dreamed of in the 1960s. They run millions of A/B tests every day, micro-experiments on user behavior that generate actionable insights about what makes humans click, share, buy, believe. And unlike MKUltra, which required kidnapping and drugging people, these experiments happen with our consent. We agreed to the terms of service. We handed over the data voluntarily. We built our own panopticon and then moved into it willingly because it was convenient. China's social credit system is often held up as the dystopian endpoint of behavioral control, and it should terrify us, but not because it's foreign. It should terrify us because it's just a more honest version of what already exists in the West. In China, your social credit score is explicit. Jaywalk, and you lose points. Donate to charity, you gain points. Low score? You can't buy plane tickets or send your kids to good schools. It's overt, governmental, and dystopian. But in the West, we have credit scores, algorithmic hiring systems, insurance risk profiles, content moderation AI that can shadow ban you without explanation, and recommendation algorithms that can functionally disappear you from public discourse by simply not showing your content to anyone. The control is the same. We've just privatized it and made it invisible. You're still being scored, still being sorted, still having your opportunities constrained based on algorithmic judgments. But because it's corporate rather than governmental, we tell ourselves it's different. It's not. The philosophical question at the center of all of this is one that humans have grappled with for centuries. What is free will? If your decisions are the product of your brain chemistry, your upbringing, your genetics, your environment, were they ever truly free? And if external forces have always shaped human behavior, religion, culture, propaganda, advertising, then what's really changed? Maybe the answer is speed and precision. For most of human history, influence was broad and slow. A government could spread propaganda, but it took time, and it affected populations generally, not individuals specifically. Today, influence is instantaneous and personalized. The algorithm knows you as an individual. It knows your vulnerabilities, your triggers, your desires before you do, and it can act on that knowledge faster than your conscious mind can process what's happening. The difference between historical influence and algorithmic influence is the difference between a shotgun and a sniper rifle. Both can kill you, but one is a lot harder to see coming. So where does that leave us? If we accept that algorithms can predict our behavior with unsettling accuracy, and if we accept that prediction at a certain level of precision becomes indistinguishable from control, then we have to ask ourselves, what percentage of our thoughts are actually ours? If 92% of your desires can be predicted and influenced, are you the author of the remaining 8%? Or are you just a character in a story someone else is writing, Convinced of your own agency because the illusion is so well crafted? I don't have a satisfying answer to that question. I wish I did. What I can tell you is this. The systems I've described are real. The mechanisms are documented. The technology exists and is being deployed right now, at scale, for profit. Whether that constitutes mind control in the sci-fi sense, some dark room with a man in a lab coat pressing buttons to make you think specific thoughts, probably not. But does it constitute a form of behavioral engineering so sophisticated that the difference between influence and control has become semantic? I think it does. Here's what I want you to take away from this. The next time you have a sudden craving, a spontaneous idea, an impulse purchase, I want you to pause and ask yourself, where did this come from? Can you trace it back to a genuine need? Or is it possible that you were primed, nudged, guided toward this moment by 1,000 micro-stimuli you never consciously noticed? And if you can't tell the difference, if the engineered desire feels identical to the authentic one, does the distinction even matter? Maybe free will isn't binary. Maybe it's not a question of having it or not having it, but of degrees. Maybe we're all partially free, navigating a world where some of our thoughts are ours and some are echoes of algorithmic suggestions, and the real challenge is learning to tell the difference. Or maybe, and this is the thought that keeps me awake, maybe we've already crossed the threshold. Maybe the singularity wasn't a super-intelligent AI becoming self-aware. Maybe it was the moment when human thought and machine prediction became so entangled that we could no longer separate one from the other. Maybe your mind is still yours, but it's also theirs, and you'll never know which thought belongs to which master. I'm Anonymous, and this is Conspiracy Anonymous. Thanks for listening to Conspiracy Anonymous. This is where the internet's darkest stories, true crime, and conspiracy theories come out of the shadows. You can find the full video episodes on YouTube, and can expect new episodes dropping regularly on both Spotify and YouTube. Until next time, keep questioning what you think you know.